Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday night. It's 7 o'clock. It's not Crackerjack. It's a long run show podcast and live stream brought to you by the 40 Runs running community. I'm Ian Wilson. Lovely to see everybody. Well, I hope you're out there anyway. We can't see you, but hopefully you can see us. And the band's back.
We're back.
We're all back in town. The man's back. Mr. Chris FORDY back from his 2 weeks sabbatical. We've managed to straggle on without him. But he's bringing his reserved, his calming influence on the proceedings. So he's back to keep us all in check, and we'll be eagerly awaiting his
who I'm going to upset
report
tonight.
from what he's been up to for the last 2 weeks. So it's lovely to see him. Toby's back from his continental jaunts as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lovely that he can grace us with his presence.
Je suis anglais, Tobe. Je suis anglais and all that.
I was just quite pleased I got back on the train, the amount I ate. But,
Yeah, he wouldn't have got through customs. Al's back. We were still here.
Numbers were up, Wilco, while we were in charge, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all right, wasn't it, mate?
I bet the actual quality of content went up in terms of the knowledge that was given out instead of just the banter. I'm guessing people actually probably learned something over those last 2 weeks.
So do people want to be educated or do they want to be entertained? That's the thing.
Both, hopefully. Hopefully, yeah, both. We shall see.
Nice, isn't it?
We shall see.
Yeah, lovely to be back anyway, folks. And, well, Chris, you're here. He's back.
I'm back. You know what? I said to the boys earlier, anyone who's listening, watching, that thanks everybody who's joining us. And don't forget to put your questions on Facebook, sign in, all that sort of stuff. And on YouTube, we want to hear from you. And if you're listening via podcast, then make sure you email in at something.com.
Longmanshow@gmail.com.
Thank you, Wilco. But yeah, no, I think I logged on because we get Tobe sends us around his links to then so we can all jump on. I think I was ready at 6 o'clock.
Absolutely coiled spring he was.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what as well, he's been away. We've got a little WhatsApp group. It's pretty quiet. We've all got too many WhatsApp groups in our lives.
Yeah.
I think he's been sending me about 20 messages a day for the last 2 weeks. I equated it. I spoke to somebody about it the other day, and I said it was a bit like when my missus was pregnant and she'd packed up work, and there's 2 weeks to go till the off, and there's loads of sitting around and thinking about loads of little jobs that you can get done. It was like that. It was incessant.
Yeah, I was. I think Al, you could probably vouch for that, and Tobe as well. I've been sitting about. I've just been messaging everybody, getting on everybody's nerves. But
and most of them normally start with, "I've got a brilliant idea."
Oh yeah. It's about when in the mute the chat when it says 40 writes, "I've got a brilliant idea." Yeah, they're the worst ones to get.
You
involved.
just dread seeing the 40 is writing the bubbles.
40 is typing.
Oh,
no, what's he going to do now? But the good news is, I'm back, and thanks to everybody who, and be serious, thanks to everybody who reached out while I was off and stuff. I got obviously unbelievable love for Toby, Al, Sabrina, and everybody else, Val, who helped out with the clubs. And I couldn't, it's just unbelievable what everyone's done for me while Nick I was out of action. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I get the all clear on Wednesday. I'll go back and see the doc. And hopefully everything that he needed to do is now sorted out, and the last 6 months could be put to bed, and we can get back on with marathon training properly without me and Tobe worrying about whether I'm going to make it to the end of the run. There is that. But thanks everybody, obviously, for all the support and stuff over the last couple of weeks. I've not been out to run because of, getting firstly over the whatever and then healing and stuff like that. The good thing is, because of the stuff I've had done, you can't see that I've had anything done. So I'm still as handsome as I was beforehand. Don't say anything. I was worried.
But
But yeah, but I've been getting out. I've been walking the dog. Poor old Buddy, he's had his legs walked off him because, slowly but surely I'll be trying to build up exercise because, it gets over the fatigue a little bit quicker to try and get the blood going through. So I've been out there walking poor little Buddy's legs off. But slowly but surely, I think it was, what day was it, Al? I posted on Instagram. You commented, you mentioned it to me about what day was that when I said I finally felt.
I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I actually started to feel.
It was Wednesday.
Like human. I mean, I've not run for like 3.5 weeks or whatever it is. And it was like, I think, whatever day it was, I've gone out. I was walking Buddy, sun was shining and I wasn't knackered just after like 10 minutes. So it was slowly like coming back in terms of getting back to feeling like my old self, really. So that was kind of nice. And so I'm just excited to be back. We've got so much to talk about. I think this show, actually, just bear with you. If you're listening to this on your run, you may have to do a few more kilometers today because this could be our longest show yet. It
could be a long run.
Yeah, it could be a long run. So just make sure that you've got a couple of kilometers left in the tank. If you're watching live, and don't forget, we want to hear from you if you're watching live. Yeah, just get ready, maybe get a drink or something because this could be a long show.
Yeah, we could be in for a long haul.
Yeah,
couldn't we?
We've got a lot to talk about.
So, Tobe, how's your you were away with work last week and didn't do much, I understand.
Didn't do much running.
Not a lot of running.
Not a lot of running. There was quite a lot of walking involved, though.
It just ate.
I did like 20,000 steps a day, so I thought, that's kind of helping. Time on feet, as you know.
You talk about WhatsApp groups, Wilco. All he was doing was sending me pictures of what he was eating.
Yeah,
like every day.
Oh, that's the way it is. I went on a work trip once with France. It was an adventure thing. And they said, oh, we're going to stop for lunch. You think, I'll have a sandwich? No. It's soup. It's a fish course. It's a main course. It's 2 puddings. It's cheese board. It's 2 bottles of wine. And then they'd said, oh, that big hill over the road, we're going to walk up that this afternoon. I was absolutely hanging.
That's making me feel hungry.
I did get some weird looks though, because we did, as you do in Paris, you find a nice Italian restaurant. Just down the road.
Yeah.
But we found this nice Italian restaurant and it was really good. And even the waiter got a bit confused and ordered my pizza with a side of pasta.
Oh, child. It's the speed goat diet, isn't it?
He can't take him anywhere.
Yeah, it's the speed goat diet.
Thank God he didn't have a chicken burger and asked for the tomato to be taken out.
Yeah, well, the unforgivable. It would be unforgivable. By the way, we haven't told everyone what we're talking about today, which is, right, we are going to talk about running at some point. But we're going to be talking about, because the week commencing the 21st, if you go on the London Marathon website, is when the ballot's coming out, right? So we thought today, before that, sort of mentally prepare you for that.
For rejection.
We're going to talk about rejection and what it feels like, because it's not very nice, but just to get ready for it and what to do if you don't get a place. And we're also going to be talking about what if you do get a place, or not necessarily if you don't get a ballot place, but then you take on another marathon. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. So we want to know from you, are you in the London Marathon ballot? Are you waiting to hear about that before you pull the trigger on another one? So let us know what you're planning, or maybe you're going to switch down to a half or whatever. So let us know what you're thinking, but we will get on to something related.
We've got a few bits, haven't we? I mean, I'll just go over sort of like, just talk about last week. Al, I just wanted to say, I saw today you're page 3 of the Essex Chronicle.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It was
a surprise to see page 3, to be honest. I started at the back and was working towards the front. I wasn't expecting to be quite so.
Is it quite a quiet day in Mid Essex? Was it quite a week?
Must have been a quiet. Well, on a serious note, it wasn't. There'd been, quite a dramatic case, so that took the headlines, unfortunately. But the article was really a follow-up, and we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago in terms of safety and running safely at night. So the article was really picking my brains about what we do and how we make sure our runs and our runners can be as safe as possible. So it was good to see that.
I thought it came across really well, mate. Reading the
it was an excellent article.
I thought it was excellent, really good.
Yeah.
I've done a lot worse interviews than that.
Because I didn't have a 40 runs T-shirt on.
I know. You've got a lot of stick in the group about that, Al.
I did send him 3, and he chose the Gooners picture. So what?
I'm sure you probably the Gooner bit. But I can't talk about.
I'm taking it all back now. I didn't know
I was running around the Emirates wearing my
can't talk about that.
Islington City Runs T-shirt.
Can't talk about
40 runs. But
actually,
apart from that,
Wilco, weren't you? Where was you? You were at Watford, weren't you?
I was at Watford. Yes, did Watford half, the hills of Watford. Went really well. Met up with all the Watford 40s. We had a great time. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. It was tough though. It was there was plenty of hill action going on, and we had quite a lot of rain beforehand as well, fitting for a February half marathon. So a couple of puddles that we were ankle deep in, but we all went for a drink afterwards. I went with Donna and Kaz and all the rest of the gang. It was lovely to meet everybody. We had a wonderful time. And the following day, Monday, was the first day of my training plan for Edinburgh. So it's not as if I was at the peak of my game, but 2:12 I was quite pleased with.
Yeah, you've done well, bruv. And it's hilly as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but I wouldn't put. I do think people I don't mind a hill. I think it just adds a bit of character and for a run. So you shouldn't. You shouldn't fly like, I would much rather do that than run around an airfield or run around a lake.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, no, actually, I wouldn't. I wouldn't rather run up hills and run around.
I was saying this to Mark Sloan when I saw him at because I made my Gunpowder Park run debut on Saturday. I was saying I think everybody at Broxton, they just spend too long running down that river. So they're just
there is that. No, that's a fair point. We do run up and down the river. Actually, there's a good video. Just great plug, by the way, for this. There's a video coming out even next week or the week after where Tobe and I ran home from down the river talking about that, because it was, you talk about it, but it was a really good run. But yeah, we do run up and down the river probably too much, but it's nice. It's just a nice place to be in it. So, but yeah, no, I couldn't do.
There are hilly ways.
I hope all the Watford 40s are feeling the love from the podcast today anyway. So thanks
very much. Sorry, Tobe, what was that?
So there are some hilly ways around the river as well. Just I'm always told off if I ever try and approach.
Yeah, there's these bridges he keeps taking me over. But you know what it's like? You're at mile 18 and Speedgoat goes, let's go this way. And I know why he's doing it, because he's got this naughty bridge that it's like climbing up steps. You know, at the end of that long run where your hamstrings are pulling, Speedgoat goes, oh yeah, we'll go that way. And I know what he's trying to do. And there's a hill. It's not even a hill. On the way home, we are literally 3 kilometers from base. Every week, every long run, it just blows me up. Every single time I go up it, it just does me in. And if you walked it normally, you wouldn't even be out of breath. But it's at that point, let's say with 3K to go, it destroys me every week. I think it's more mental. I think it's all psychological.
You have been saved by the flooding recently, though.
Yeah, there's a nice little bit of flooding that now means taking one of his bridges out.
You planned it.
Oh, talking about things getting stuff like that. That's just made me think. Ragna, did you see that?
Yes, the Ragna relay has been cancelled this year, which is rather unusual circumstances, because obviously we're getting to the stage where stuff's getting back on and things are getting geared up. But it seems that the American company who own Ragna Relays. They've sold to a company and they're not doing international events anymore, which I think is a real shame. It looks like, I mean, you've done it, haven't you, Chris? You boys did it in one.
I'll tell you what,
real cracking event.
That was, I think that's one of the best weekends I've ever had. Selfishly, from a personal point of view, we raised a lot of money for a great charity, Teens Unite. A big shout out to them. We raised like really good money for them, but the camaraderie, what's the
camaraderie?
Thank you very much. It'd be lovely if I could talk. Amongst us, we had 2 buses on the go, and it was just and we had Chris from Here We Are Running, who was obviously stepped in when I was Tom Dick, and that was great. But he was part of the team, and we put it together. We had the fountains there, Mark and Hetty, a big shout out, big love to them. Because they, took the time out of the weekend to film it for us and put together really, really amazing videos. And we had the drone out. It was just the most amazing experience. I'll never forget there's a couple of things, mainly the love from all of us as a team and as a unit, how powerful it was as a community coming together. Big Fletch going into the Brighton Sea, start naked at the at the end of it was one thing. There was
now there's a memory you'll never be
yeah,
able to
no,
get rid
there
of,
was
I
that.
think.
There was the I had to do a run at 3 o'clock in the morning in Dungeness, and it was literally the darkest I've ever. You know, when it's dark, and all you could see was this blinking red light in front of you that I was following. It was another runner, and I caught up with a guy, and he was like some absolute machine. And I followed him around. I think I might be wrong, whether it was 11K or something like that, but I never would have known where I was going. Like it was, but to be out there with somebody, and then the funniest thing out of everything was after I'd done that run, we then had to go to this sports hall because our bus, our team would run, and then our other team 2, would then run, and it was 5 runners, and it was time for us to basically we clocked off. I was the last one to go. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, hammering it down, and they took us to this sports hall, and it was like something out of the war because you walked in, there's all people laid out in sleeping bags, all just along this sports hall floor, and it was hammering it down, like if you've ever been in a caravan or the tin roof and the noise on the top, you can't sleep. There's a storm, there's people rustling, and there's all this. But next to me, all you can hear is Billy Jackson snoring his head off. He's the only person out of all of those runners, right? How many? Must be 500 runners in there or 200. He slept like a baby on the floor, and he was snoring so loud.
And he woke up
and he went, "All right, boys, like you have a good sleep." And we was like, "No, Bill, you snored the whole time. It ruined us, right?" But Bill was like, "I had a great sleep, boys. I'll never forget it. He made so much noise. It was so good. It was so good."
It seems a real shame that it's not going to happen. But I get a feeling that somebody will pick this up and somebody will run with it.
Yeah, I think all these sort of events, these sort of team-based events, they're good. But I can understand they're hard to put on. There's a lot involved. I mean, Al, you probably know it where you've done stuff. There's a lot to be involved in all these sort of stuff, these trail events and things like that. You're doing, what is it, Stalk thingy, isn't it, Al?
The Stalk race is actually a short race. They do a Stalk 30 as well. And I think the problem for those long relays is just you've got so many landowners that you need to get on board. So you've really got to be committed to seeing through the process. So I would imagine our American cousins, and Ragna not the first to withdraw from the UK and Europe. So rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Have pulled out with, I think the only one that's left now is Madrid. That used to be
because they had Liverpool, didn't they? And that's gone.
And Dublin, and they've lost a few others. So I think if you haven't got a local team really committed, just the balls ache of having to manage all that communication. Did you see what I did there?
It's just Al, did you see the comment? You've just made me think, because somebody said about our t-shirts. So for the eagle-eyed viewers out there, you may have noticed that we are hashtag branded tonight, Manscaped. So we joke about it. I don't know whoever's what episode was we talking about this?
Probably about 6.
Yeah, about 6. But basically, while I was off, just to bring the viewers up to speed, and we talk about idle fingers and all that, messaging people. But basically, while I was off, I've been busy, as you'd expect. And I actually went back because Al pointed out, and rightly so, that we joked about Manscaped and all that sort of stuff. But he pointed out, actually, they are involved with some of the large podcasts out there, some of the larger ones out there. I think, like Al, we joked about it, but one of the Arsenal ones out there.
Yeah.
They sponsor UFC, like the fighting. The new Jackass movie. I'm sort of like advertising for everybody here, but the Jackass movie, they sponsor that. But what was interesting, so I actually went back and researched because I've mentioned it before. I get a lot of incoming, like in terms of, and we joke about it, but like IT companies and like Hoovers and all this sort of stuff that just totally irrelevant to what we talk about on anything we do, but they want to sponsor it and all that sort of stuff, and we're not interested unless it's obviously got loads of money. But what I actually, in a serious point, I want to talk about, because I then went onto Manscaped's website. I didn't know what to expect, but if you look at it, they support testicular cancer a lot, right? And actually, as boys, I think seriously, it's something that we need to talk about. Not in like great deal of detail because it's not the platform, but I do think in terms of awareness, which is what I'm all about. On a serious note, is, supporting the testicular cancer awareness. And so I got back in touch with the Manscaped guys and said to them, what's it all about, that kind of stuff. And they were kind enough to send us their performance package box thing, number 4, I think it's called, boys, isn't it? And we all got sent one, right? Not got paid, but they sent us the stuff out. But they gave us a discount code to give to everybody, which I thought was kind of nice. Now, so if you use promo code FORDY, you'll get 20% off. Now, it's quite funny, right? If you go on the website, the names of the stuff the stuff, boys, you've got the Lawnmower 4, right?
4.0, not just 4, right? 4.0.
4.0. So you've got the Lawnmower, right? I'm going to leave that there. And then you've got the Weed Whacker, which is for your nose. So in all seriousness, right?
What a bit of kit.
Yeah, it is. It's a proper bit of kit, isn't it? I mean, there's all deodorants and all that sort of stuff in there, right? But in a serious point, I just want to put out in terms of hygiene and boys checking yourselves, right? We talk about it not a lot, I think, and it is a serious point. You've got to check yourselves regular, and you've got to look after yourselves and hygiene and all that sort of stuff. You do whatever you want, but the Manscaped stuff, I'll be honest with you, it's really, it's proper stuff.
It's not something that people don't talk about, but we all know people. I mean, I've got 2 work colleagues who have had operations through because of testicular cancer. And,
really important.
It's all happening, it happens to your mates and things like that. And sometimes blokes don't like to talk about this sort of thing, but it's definitely worth checking yourself out. And this is, this is a good way to support it.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for us as a platform. And girls, with your partners and boys with your partners, make sure that, it's a funny thing to talk about, but, if you can mention it and, you can even buy them the stuff. You use the code, the whatever it was at manscaped.com. I don't even know what it is, probably should do. But, there's 20% off there if you want it anyway. So it's not a sales pitch in any way. It's more that, I think it's an important thing. And actually, I personally want to talk about it a little bit more in terms of just awareness. I think that's the key for me. But anyway, we went totally off kilter there. So we'll talk about running now, shall we, boys?
Yeah, just before we move on to our main topic of the day about the ballot, I just wanted to give a shout out to both Trevor Gale and our friend Ian Wilson, friend of the show, our Ultraman 800 run every day days on the bounce, and Anine McPeak as well. She's done 700 this week. What an effort! That is absolutely brilliant.
Well done, guys.
Also, we had an email. Just talk amongst yourselves while I dig it out.
Oh, right. We got, and thanks again for all the emails. We will get to them. Just remember, I'm useless at reading them, but I do get them, Photoshop them, and send them to the boys now, which is a massive improvement because before,
it couldn't be much. Not a lot would constitute an improvement. Yeah, but it is an improvement nevertheless. Anyway, we got it from Adam. Yeah, we got Adam Drew in Southampton. Who sent us a load of great stuff about how much he loves the show. It sounds like he could have it as his specialist subject on Mastermind, the way he's brought up Toby's chicken burger and all this, and his blue shorts and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, he said, I got injured on New Year's Day while doing my own personal challenge of running to every address that I've ever lived at. It's a pain around the ankle and it's kept me out for a long time. So, yeah, we're sorry to hear about that, mate. But he's managed to get a charity place in the Landmarks Half, which is something that we're going to be talking about in a few weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, we will definitely come. Again, because I've been off, you're going to love this, listeners. I've actually got a list of stuff to talk about now. So where before we've I would say winged it, we're going to be winging it a little bit less. We're going to be... What we want to do, what we thought would be awesome, because what I want to try and do is we've got, believe it or not, 3 qualified people here, right, to talk about, help you out with stuff, right? And then we've got running fanatic and journalist Wilco down there. But we want you, if you need help with your running, right, drop us an email, right, and we will help you out. One of us will have some knowledge about whatever it is.
longunshow@gmail.com. And if the boys don't know, then they will know where to get the information from to pass it on to you.
So whether you want to get faster, whether your knees are in, speak to Monica, whether you want some help, what sort of drills you should be doing. We've got some great videos coming out on the channel about track days and stuff like that. But if you want some session advice, marathon training plans advice, anything, I can't breathe when I'm out running, whatever it is, I don't know. What's a good podcast to listen to? what product should you be using to no. But the point is, email us in and we want to help you. So that's our sort of mission over the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks. We want to try and help as many of you as we can. We're going to be talking about all the big events that are coming along, like as you say, Wilco. We've got landmarks coming out. We're going to talk about the ballot and stuff like that. But you know, we've got some of the bigger events coming back, so we're going to be touching on them.
Yeah, we like having a laugh, and we like trying to be entertaining, have a light-hearted look at the running game, you know, on a Friday night. But also, you know, the opportunity is here to, you know, boost your education with running things, and no questions stupid. You know, ask what you like. You know, we would help as much. It's an inclusive community, so we will try and help you, whatever your issue is. Whether you just want to get going and you just is couch to 5K for me or something like that. It doesn't matter what you're doing, or you're doing ultras. It doesn't matter where you are on the scale. The boys are here to help you out. So longrunshow@gmail.com. Bang your emails down during the week, or send them, or you put them on the Facebook page and make it to our attention. We're all on there, you know, and we'll pick them up and then we'll have a chat with them about them on Friday.
And here's another thing. Apart from sharing the podcast with people, I found this out the other day, because again, we're not very good at this sort of stuff. Apparently you can review the podcast and you can add stars or something to it. This was, I found all this out. Again, funnily enough, I've been off and had nothing.
He's had a bit of time in his hands.
It's amazing how educated I am right now, because I've been so bored. Like I said the link to the boys today about cameras, because you see all these like proper, like if you look at Toby's speaker up in the corner with his useless room and all that sort of stuff, and it looks like it's like a building site. I sent the boys a link today to a video where they got like cameras that are like 1,800 quid and all this sort of stuff. So we are slowly but surely going to up our game. I think this is the key. We want to give knowledge and we want to up our game.
Yeah,
it might take longer than probably expect, but that's what we're planning on doing. Because I've had nothing better to do, I thought about it.
Yeah. So he's trying to plan stuff. So really, we should try and encourage him. And
what could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Well, we'll have a bit of fun finding out anyway, won't we?
Oh, talking about fun, this Sunday, Winter 10K. Right, so if anybody's seen the video today, me, Si, and Tobe had an argument at an athletics track over a 5K because Tobe's watch was wrong, and he'd done too many laps. So watch that video about running quick 5Ks and how to do it, and follow me, but don't do what Toby did and run too many laps, Tobe. But because of that, it caused issues with the GPS, right? So if you've not seen it, there's a video out there where all three of our watches were different around the track, right? Now, we made a right cock up of it, and we should have done the laps and all that sort of stuff, but we just winged it. We turned up on the day and went, let's just go 5K time trial. Didn't think anything more of it. So what we've done, the guys at Garmin, who are awesome, and I'm not saying I'm not paid by Garmin, but if they want to sponsor the podcast, feel free to get in touch at something.com. They gave me some watches for testing the other day. So what I've said to Toe, because I'm not allowed to do high efforts, if the doctor's listening, I'm not running on Sunday. So I've given Tobe all of those watches, and he's going to be wearing all of them on his look. And his Fenix watch.
He's
right?
now, if you're on your long run now, and you're he's modelling all four on his wrist.
Yeah, he's got 4 watches he's holding up, right? So he's going to be running the winter. If you see a guy on the Winter 10K with 4 watches, that's Toby, right?
Yeah, don't just think, who is that?
Who's that idiot? He's going to be trying them, right? It's a science. We're doing this proper science experiment stuff. He's going to start them all at the same time. Si's going to help him in the start ring, and he's going to go. And then we're going to look at the data afterwards to see if there's any discrepancies between the satellites, the pacing, and all that sort of stuff. So it's proper scientific stuff.
So how do you feel about being a guinea pig in this, Tobe?
Oh, I'm for most things, you know me.
He don't say no, he does. He just gets on with it.
Just does
He just does it, doesn't he?
I might have done myself in on this one.
Yeah. We're going to test it
track
tomorrow.
mode on Garmin.
Run out of fingers.
Yeah, this is the thing. We're going to have to start and stop him for him, but
it doesn't matter when I start them, as long as they all start at the same time.
Yeah, that's the thing. So he's going to. So Al, you're on volunteer duty tomorrow, aren't you?
It's worse than that. We're actually on the starter line, so he's got to make it over the start line. He might be.
Well, you
pulled
can help
out.
him.
You can. You can. If you let Si in, because he's not
carry
right
press
pen,
the button. Help
and
him
then
out.
you can start for him.
Si and I have already had that conversation, so.
Oh right.
Can't say anymore.
Yeah,
I suppose you're off in the front. You're at the front of the queue, are you, boys? You and Si.
I think Toby. Toby.
I'll tell you what. I wish sometimes that I wasn't affected by everything that's going on in the world. Things get on top of you. You watch too much of the news. Your football team bloody loses every week. You have all these problems. Toby, just nothing happens. He just
nothing. It's like honestly,
worry
it's
about
like
all this sort of stuff. He just carries on as if nothing's happening around him.
I know, he's my hero.
I wish I could be like that.
He's actually a positive effect on you. He can drive you nuts, right? But actually, you know, when you're so fuming about something, you ring him up and he's just like, yeah. it just breaks down. It just comes down. Oh, hang on, Jonathan. Sorry, I'm just reading a question from Jonathan Winter. Should we get onto that now, or do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do a couple of questions and then we'll talk about that.
What is there any before that one? Because I kind of jumped ahead.
No, the questions of we've had lots of comments about the Manscaped products, so thank you for endorsing
20% off. Use product code
Lawnmower
40.
4.0. But yeah, I think people are keen to hear about what they should be doing around the London ballot. We had quite a few people saying they're waiting anxiously, know they're going to get rejected. So what's coming next? And then I think the questions then follow on from that. Actually,
okay, all right.
Can I when we start on this, I'd just like to start the ball rolling with regard to the London ballot. Why does it take so long to draw people out? Wouldn't it be better if we could all know at the start of the year before we book up everything out? Because I'm sure lots of people will, if they get a place in London, that would become their number one race and build their whole calendar around it. But then you get into a position where people have perhaps booked their April marathon, they've booked their October, they're doing other big events, perhaps like the Great North Run, things like that. And then the whole thing can be disrupted when in the middle of the year, the London Marathon jumps in two-footed and saying you've got a place and then you've got to rearrange everything.
Yeah, I think I don't know the total ins and outs of it, but obviously it goes back to when it all started and it lands effectively close to that, so you can plan out your 16, 18, whatever week training plan. There was always that period of time, so you could originally, don't forget, you'd get it in, what was it, October, wasn't it?
October for April it was.
October, so then you could then effectively get yourself your what's-its in order, and then you would start. Yeah. Most start January 1st. Some people start before in December. So it just gives you a month or two to, get into the position. There's a few forms and registrations and stuff you've got to work through, especially if you're doing it for a charity and stuff like that. So there's always that period of time. But you are right, in the modern world in which we live in, and landmarks have proved it, how quickly it can all be turned around.
Every other race I enter, the ballot closes, they tell me within a week whether I've got a place or not.
I think it's more of a legacy tradition kind of thing. They love to build the hype up. I mean, their marketing department, which is probably expanded after and it will expand when they get that 1.1 million quid in from the virtual challenge that they're doing. When they sell everybody the same medal that they're getting for 6 quid for 25 quid. They're gonna probably launch a new marketing department to make it all sound even more awesome. But it's all that sort of build up and anticipation and all that. It's just they love it all, don't they? And that's it doesn't make any sense to me. But then they took us all into indoors when COVID, a pandemic, was on to make us drop off a bag. So you tell me. I don't think sometimes they think.
Yeah, we don't want to slag them off too much, but then we'll get to. This is it. Then we believe it's the week beginning the 21st that we're going to hear. Then. So
yeah, no, it's on their website. It's on their website. If you go onto, I'll do it now. If you go onto London Marathon ballot on their website, it's on there.
Right. It
says week commencing, and I got a thing through the charity about the virtual stuff. Confirmed that it will be what's it called? The same T-shirt, same medal, and there's no point getting into that because it is what it is, isn't it? And I say it's tongue in cheek about the money, right? Because again, they have been like benefit for people. The London Marathon events, they have a foundation. They put that money, a lot of that money, to good work. They're supporting GB athletes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm tongue in cheek, right? And they do use that money for good. But it's somebody, I can't remember. I'm trying to find it now, but it was on the their website saying the week commencing the 21st. It was switched around, I believe. Yeah. But it's coming then. So when that comes, I think you're going to be in that situation. I don't know about you, but when I first started entering it, I was always confident that I would get a place. I don't know what planet I was on, and there was that feeling of when that magazine dropped through the door. it was a real letdown. But now, I think because it's so well publicised that you ain't going to get a place, that actually it's like, you almost, I don't know about you, but, I was saying to Toe, we was planning this week, the fact that we aren't going to get a place. Right. So it's that having, I think, talking about what to do if you don't get in. I think firstly, you've just got to accept, right, that you probably ain't. And if you've got that attitude that you ain't, then you don't need to worry. I think, Alan, this week you've kindly looked at some alternative races to highlight to people. What did you come up with?
You want to do that now, dear?
Yeah.
Right. So if you are keen to run a marathon on the day, as in the 2nd of October, following my extensive research, which is about 10 minutes on internet, you've got choices, and you've got choices in many parts of the country. I'm just doing a quick mental check. It pretty much is north, south, east, and west. So there's Loch Ness. A couple of my runners.
I like the look of Loch Ness. I think I might put it on my list.
Well,
just hold on though, because it is. So one of the comments back from Dan Gray, who was over at Wickford, he said it wasn't. So they start at you're based in Inverness, and it's like the Boston Marathon where they bust you out. And he says he was on the bus for 90 minutes, and it was that point where he realised
no thanks
how far he's got to run back.
I ain't getting on no bus for 90 minutes. I don't cycle and I don't get on buses for 90 minutes.
So you do run around the lot for about 10 miles, and he says it is absolutely rugged and beautiful.
It looks lovely.
It can be a bit remote at times. So
I'm going to put it on my list
for you. Penny, who's been on the podcast tonight, telling us about Chester. There's one over in Kilda Dam, so in the northeast. That claims to be the most beautiful marathon.
How do they gauge it?
I can imagine that can be quite windy and a bit windswept. And if you prefer your southwest, there's the Estuary Marathon, which is down in Devon and is a kind of pathway, southwest coastal path marathon running around Topsham and Exeter. That'll be another beautiful part of the country. But I guess with all of those, what you're trading in for beauty is probably a bit of solitude, because the crowds.
Well,
so it's a different kind of atmosphere.
Are those ones actually taking place on the same day?
They are on the same day.
So you could get the virtual medal for doing those.
Well, that's the thing. You could sign up and get 2 for 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Do your Loch Ness or your Kilda or your
and get the virtual,
and you get 2 for 1.
And then outside of that, you don't. What Toe and I were talking about Amsterdam, because that's a flat course. You've got other stuff that's going on in October, haven't you, Al?
I'm going to Dublin. I've got Dublin at the end of October.
Yeah.
Frankfurt's at the end of October.
It's a busy month. You can start it here in Essex.
Oh.
So there is the Essex Marathon down at Debden Airfield.
That's 400 laps in it.
Well, just 6, and it's not the most picturesque. But
I remember Wendy did that, right?
Yeah, your Strava art is the shape of an aeroplane. So that's how they sell that one.
Oh.
It's not the
That's
most
a big sell, that.
Yeah, no.
You can come to Amsterdam on the 16th of October.
Yeah.
There'll be a fair few FORDYs running that one.
Are you doing the Dam there now?
I will be there, and it will be. I think this will be the 3rd year I've tried because of COVID. So, fingers crossed that.
It's the sort of place you've got to go, isn't it?
Well, we're looking forward to the interesting recovery program. I think that may take place immediately after the event. Plenty of options. And then, Ian, if you can't come with us to Amsterdam, there's always the Yorkshire Marathon, and you can talk us through the highlights and lowlights.
Nice. Everyone's lovely. It's a cracking. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I would go back again, but I do like to sort of like say, right, okay, well, I've done that one. I'd like to go somewhere else. I would not put anybody off going on the Yorkshire Marathon. I know Nettie Taylor's a big fan of the Yorkshire Marathon. She's been 3 or 4 times at least.
Al, in your manner, when's the Chelmsford Marathon?
They've moved it around a bit. So
I've done that in October. I'm sure I did.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it used to be around about the time that London Marathon is scheduled for, but I think there's been problems with that. I know they've had to shift all the half marathons around, and now the 2 Chelmsford Marathons take place about 3 weeks apart, which is crazy. But different organisers. And
on another tangent, I see that in about 3 weeks, the Chelmsford half marathon's the same day as the Cambridge half marathon. Who thought that? Surely that people are going to be wanting to go. That's going to attract the same sort of people.
I think it's a lot of this stuff. I was talking to somebody today at one of the charities. It's all these events because of now, and it's not gone right. But whatever your view is, we're not getting into that. But let's say it's clearing, right? Because if you listen to what they're saying, right, everything's now like, let's do a race, let's get all these events. And I don't think the organisers, it's like April the 4th is the same, isn't it the same weekend as Manchester Marathon's the same as something else?
Landmarks and Manchester
Marathon. And so
yeah.
I just think everything's like, we've got to get this stuff done. And almost like, let's just go mental 2022 and 2023 we'll come back to like normality and they'll get the dates like as they were in their sort of, let's call it traditional slots. It'll be interesting. We've gone totally off tangent, by the way, because we will come back to what to do if you get a marathon place. But it will be interesting to see what London do, whether they switch back. They've said they will, but I know from reading the stuff again through the charity stuff that they were buying back charity places because they had so many where everyone's deferred, and they think about, when they're like the planes are all out of position. All around the world because of COVID, they have to move them all back. It's like they're trying to get all their ducks in line and get all their stuff organised, ready, so they can almost hit the reset button and go again in 2023. So it will,
maybe we should. Well, perhaps with hindsight, then maybe we should cut them a bit of slack and sort of like they're getting these events on and try some stuff. So if you've got a question, put on your YouTube, start your comment with a Q, and we'll
come on to it.
Push on with those. So, Chris, we've talked a bit about what you don't do if you don't get a ballot place. If you're one of the 24 out of 25 who're not going to get one, what to do? What do you do then if you have got one? And you're like, oh my God, I was drunk that night.
Yeah, do a Tracy. Do a Tracy.
Yeah, do a Tracy.
Do a Tracy. Get hammered and sign up for stuff.
I've only done Couch to 5K 2 weeks ago, and then I thought, well, I'll put the marathon in, and now I'm worried about it, and now I don't know if I want to do it.
Or you could be somebody's brother who got entered into it on the train without knowing. He's not listening to this, but my brother's in the ballot. Just one quick thing, actually. If you don't get in via the ballot, I know how hard it is, right? Getting charity cap on. But there are charities out there that will have places, okay? And we always say, me, hopefully by now, for doing stuff for charities and stuff, there are charities out there that need the money. So if you maybe you haven't done it for a charity before and you're not somebody who's done it 5 times and keeps asking the same people for 50 quid, then pick a charity that's close to you, that will keep you motivated. And I'll come on to that. So anyway, we'll come on to, so if you do get in, or maybe you then go and get a charity place. So, let's say you've already said that I'm not worried about the ballot. I'm going to take a charity place and I'm signed up. I think the first thing that you do, if this maybe is your first, let's say, you're moving up, is to actually not worry about it and just breathe, relax, smile, tell people that you're going to be doing it, but just enjoy the fact that this is going to be coming up. I think that after the sort of realization sets in and you go, oh Christ, I've got to run 26.2 miles. And then you hear all the horror stories about pooing yourself at mile 17 and then hitting the wall and that your knee's going to hurt and I'm never going to be able to try. All these sort of horror stories from everybody who's never done it come up and tell you, or who got no right to tell you what they think, and they panic you. So my first tip, big tip, to be honest, for anybody does get decide to do a marathon in 2022 is just to relax, breathe, relax, sit back, and just take 5 minutes to process it and not panic. Because that's one good thing with the London Marathon, like we said about the ballot, you have got a bit of time before you need to start getting into it. So just process it, but just breathe, relax, and smile. You're going to be joining a select club of people. There's 1% in the world. I think, Alan, you told me or something. But yeah, I think that's the first important thing to do is to sort of soak it up and process it and enjoy it. But then after that, you want to start be thinking about getting yourself a training plan. There's loads of free ones online. Like go to London Marathon website, for example. Even if you're not doing London Marathon marathon, go to the London Marathon website and get one of their free ones. We spoke about it before. We're not here to advertise what me, our Toby do in terms of writing plans and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we do that 40 runs and through the coaching and that lot, and you can download plans. But if you don't want to go down that road, the stuff off the shelf, perfectly fine. My first one I pulled off the shelf and did mine. I adapted it. There is obviously huge benefits of getting a tailored one. It's it's all about you. We understand the runner, so 30-second bit of detail. I would a runner comes to me and says I'm doing London. I would firstly try and understand about them as a human being, how they work, how they process, what their life is all about, and learn all about that. And then discuss about talking about putting a training plan together. You're not going to get that off the shelf, but not everyone's got the time or the money to do that, right? So I would say get yourself a decent training plan that suits you.
And then if you're getting a plan, you're going to have to sort of like, you've got to, in my experience, you have to answer the fundamental questions before you go into a plan. Sort of like, how much time am I going to have? How many days a week am I going to be able to get out and do something? Training. There's no point in you picking there seems no point in you picking a plan off the shelf, as you're going to have to run 5-6 times a week if you have only got time to do 4 at a push. You've got to be realistic, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to set, like, we won't get onto targets because we don't want to be talking about that. Because if you're looking at giving yourself targets, you're way off league. But you just want to be setting yourself a realistic schedule through the week. Don't think about what's happening in whenever the marathon is. Just think about, firstly, get yourself a plan that suits you, change it around. Oh yeah, I'll probably be able to do that. And do you know what? You'll probably have to rejig it after 3 weeks because you'll go, well, that didn't work. That worked, that didn't work. And you can then, combine it and play around with it. It's great if you're a member of like something like the 40 Runs running community on Facebook, which hopefully everybody is who's listening to this or watching this. There's so many people in there who, gone through the process and has got advice. You can always,
we're always banging on about.
Yeah, you can stick it in there. Someone's always going to help, But what I would say on the counter argument of that is don't don't focus on what people are doing. Like, people are all different abilities and they're all doing different stuff. And you might see some idiot going out there and doing, like me and Tobe, 20 miles in week 3. But, everyone's different. So don't worry about what other people are doing. And again, there's people sometimes who, they ain't generally, and it's not digging anyone out, they're not qualified to be talking about certain things, and they're giving advice based on something they may have heard. But sometimes, it's not necessarily, you've got to think about who's the person who's giving me. So, but the support network is what the important. I always try and take the positive. Something like the 40 Runs Facebook group is, you've got amazing people in there who are looking to support and help each other. That will help you. Once with your training plan and stuff like that. I think and it's great because we've got all the YouTube guys is to also get you some shoes. Get yourself get your gait analysed. Because if maybe you've been running 10Ks and you started from couch and you just stuck a pair of shoes on and went out running, go and get yourself. It's worth now getting yourself gait. You get your gait done. Maybe get 2 pairs. One shoe so you can rotate it. That's maybe something a little bit more soft and comfortable. That's just there, and then say maybe something a little bit faster for those tempo sessions, or go the other way and something that that you can just do long runs in. It depends what your goals are, how you are built as a runner, and all that sort of stuff. But it's worth investing the time to get your gait analysed because you're going to be spending a lot of time in those shoes, and you want something that's not going to get you injured, and you want to be comfortable when you're out there running. And make sure, like Al does, that you buy white shoes because that doesn't it? It's scientifically proven to help you through marathon training.
And it certainly shows up better on the old race photographs.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, which is the most important thing.
What about mental preparation for approaching your first marathon, having got the nods on your email, Al? Where should people be mentally?
I think there's 2 things, and Chris has alluded to it already. I think, first up is bite-sized chunks. Yes, you have got that big goal and that big ambition, and, it might scare you to death today. But don't overthink think that. Just think about your next run or your next couple of runs. And that's where the plan can help you get a little bit of focus. The other thing I've started to do and encourage people to do is write down after each run. Sounds a bit nerdy, but just write down how far, how it felt, what did you eat, what worked, what kind of terrain did you do? Because again, I think it's easy to kind of look at individual runs and feel like you're not making progress. But perhaps after, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you look back and you see what you've achieved. I know most of it's on Strava or Garmin or on the tech, but actually that process, getting it out of your head onto a piece of paper can really help you.
That's a great tip.
See what progress you're making.
That's a great, and actually, I tell you, I would focus. For me, I always ask my runners when we do one-to-ones and stuff, how did you feel in your recovery? What was that like when you finished? Because as Al said, it's to gauge those gains, and you will have that week, Wilco, because where we spoke about it, whatever it was, there's that week where everything, how the hell am I going to do this? How am I going to do it? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm effectively restarting my training coming this Monday, right? And there's going to get that point where I'm going to go, I can't even run for 10 minutes. But it's noting that recovery, because that's where you see the progress. Toby and I ran for 4 hours before my surgery. Toby and I ran for 4 hours, right? Not being big-headed, but it felt like we ain't done nothing. So we've done zone 2, we basically ran for 4 hours, and it felt like we ain't done nothing. And that's how you know, in terms of your recovery, where you are overall in the picture. And that's why what Alan's saying is such a good idea. Because if you print a training plan off offline or online, and you literally print it off and ticking it off, you can write on it, felt terrible, great, all that sort of stuff. It's really powerful to then look back at it, because if you then go and do another marathon, let's say like you, Wilco, signed up, you can then look back and you can go, right, actually in week 5, I was blown out of my rear end. But then maybe you come into week 4 and you can see the progression from what you're doing.
Or you look back and you think, oh God, I was terrible in week 5, and then you can remember what you were like in week 7 or 8. When you pushed on a little bit more, you think, oh, it'll be all right. I'm just where I am. I was a bit like that with, I went to Watford on Monday last week, and like I say, did 2:12. I've done a sub 2 half marathon in the last 12 months. I wasn't bothered the fact that I was running it took me a quarter of an hour longer to do it, because I knew where I was in the whole scheme of things. When I'd done the other one, I was halfway through a plan, and I'd got a big bulk of stuff behind me, and I was pushing on. Whereas this time, it was right at the start, and it was sort of like it almost drew a line in the sand. Right, okay, well, Monday we go again and we push on. So you can set yourselves your own little targets and things like that.
Al said something to me the other day, some great advice about focusing on, what was it, Al? What was that thing you said to me?
You've had so many great ideas, I've forgotten.
No, he said to me something, because I was generally like, I do the 10K on Sunday, right? And the doctor said, like, whatever. But Al was like, no, because your goal's not Sunday, your goal is May. So don't worry about, cracking on now. Why, focus on where you're going. I can't remember exactly where he was, Al, but brilliant advice.
I should have written it down, I should take my own advice.
You should have taken your own advice, bro. I've written it down and then got it put on a t-shirt like this. See that? I see what I did. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to tell people, because it's really important in terms of marathon training, that none of us do. Oh yeah, well done, Tobe, putting that up. Anybody who listened to the pod, Tobe just put up 20% off Manscaped, free shipping. Use promo code 40. Well done, Tobe. It's kind of leading on to what you guys spoke about. Was it last week when with Monica was on? Is your strength and conditioning. Have a plan, right, before you start your training plan. What strength and conditioning you're going to be doing. Now, Al, this is right up your street in terms of what people should be doing. But just because we've got about 4 million questions to get through, but and maybe, Al, we do another podcast solely about strength and conditioning. It's probably a good shout, actually. But I think just think about what you're going to be doing to work on that core and doing that strength and conditioning work. What you can fit in. And what you can do, whether it's, do plan that Al we put out the other week, what was free, you know, the session that Al put out, or you watch our video online that we did with a PT that's 20 minutes hit session, or you're going swimming, or you're doing Pilates, like Monica said about. But when you are thinking about your marathon training, it's not all about the running, right, Al? I mean, literally, we've got 30 seconds because we've got to get into questions, but it's true, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose the thing to add to that is, and it's a bit like the challenge of just picking an off-the-shelf plan. There'll be loads of advice about what you should do, and most of it is fairly generic and fairly sensible. But we've all got our own weaknesses. You know, we've all got our own instabilities in our body. So actually, before you even get into strength and conditioning, and there's loads of simple tests just to find out: is it your knees? Is it your hips? Is it your ankles? How do you stand? You know, what's your balance like? Because until you know that, you can't really put together a strength and conditioning plan. Because what you're trying to do is create balance, create form, create structure in your running. So you need to know where your weaknesses are to work on those, rather than just go, you know, I need to lift, 20 kilos 3 times a week to improve.
But also, if you're doing strength and conditioning, it breaks your plan up. It means you're not just pounding the streets all the time. It gives you something else to do, and it holds your interest better. You know, if you get a bit fed up with running, then you can do something else.
Well, I said it in I did a video the other day about trail running, beginner's guide, right? Because I still count myself as a beginner in terms of trail running. I'm not one of these hardcore ninjas, but the benefits we spoke about before about going trail running, you know, where Toby and I was and Sarah was mucking about in Epping, you're using different muscles. You know, you're strengthening some where you're, you know, the terrains like this, you're strengthening those muscles and bits all around your ankles and where your pronation is, and you're working them in different ways. You know, you're doing big up and down hills and all that sort of stuff. You're working everything in a different way. So, you know, even just by doing I would say a medium effort, not even a medium effort, a low effort on a trail once a week will have a huge benefit than going out and smashing out 6 miles on a pavement. You know, that would make, you know, just do 3 miles in the trails will probably have a net gain versus doing 6 miles on the pavement because of where you're working, you know, different loads for your body. Anyway, well, I did say to everybody pre-warning, this is going to be a 5-hour episode, didn't I? I did give that warning to everybody, wasn't it? It was you know, right up the front. So
yeah, because we've got plenty of questions. One thing I wanted to mention before the questions, with regard to if you do not get a place in the ballot, do not be that arsehole who goes on social media and says it's not fair. All these people, they're not proper runners. I'm a proper runner. I should get a place, and they shouldn't. That really, there's so many nice people in the running community, but that is the worst. That is the worst bit that I can think of when I see people. It's not fair. I can do this. I never get a place. All these people, they don't do it.
Well, yeah, you see that, don't you? People, you know, they get annoyed about the ballot, and I understand the frustration around that. You know, bless them. Some people have been trying for like 20 years, 10 years, whatever it is, and I get that, and I totally, you know, and there's people first time they get in, but really, there's no upside to ranting and raving about it. Like as we've just said, there's plenty of other events out there that you can do. Go and get yourself a half marathon book. Go and smash the life out of a half marathon. You know, it's not the be all and end all. So don't worry about it. I think that's the key. If you get a place, well done. Smile, relax, get yourself your plan, do what we said. If you don't get one, don't be the whatever word that Ian used, because the kids are listening. And be that person, but just get yourself something else to do. Go, and life's too bleeding short, people. I tell you what,
Apologies.
One thing I've learned over the last 6 months, life is too bleeding short. I'll tell you that now, right? Scares the life out of you when your things have come up in front of you that you've got to cut. That people are telling you. Trust me, even more. You know, my eyes are open. People, get out there. You get one shot at this. We get one dance on the dance floor, so let's have the most fun we can. So don't be that whatever he said, because I'm not going to say
questions.
Yeah, let's go. Come on,
Yeah,
we've got a quick bite. It's like the lightning round.
No, there's no lightning round. There's no guest.
Oh,
you've missed that.
Go out.
We've had a couple of questions. I think people are kind of feeling your pain in terms of being out, perhaps being injured, and worrying about where they're at. Jonathan Winter's been struck down from COVID. He's got Manchester at the beginning of April. He's got doubts now. Can he? Should he? What should he do?
I mean, I feel for you because Mrs. Ford, bless her, get well, Mrs. Ford. She's got COVID currently. This is why the door's shut. And I'm surprised the kids ain't sitting in here actually, because we're trying to stay away from her. and she's rotten with it. But I feel your pain. I had COVID, if you've seen the video, really, really badly. And I would say to you, come back very slowly, 50% efforts for a good period of time. Personally, I would just roll with it and see how you feel, because the body is a great thing, but don't overstretch yourself. Don't put the pressure on yourself. If you need to knock it on the head, knock it on the head. What's the point? You're going to have another chance at it. So just make sure you do what's right for you. Personally, don't ever put your health at risk by worrying about doing Manchester Marathon. It's not, it's not the be all and end all. So just look after yourself and take your time. See how you feel. Call it. You've got a bit of time. I don't know what it is, but it depends. I suppose it depends if you're going there to run a time. If you've got, like I said to the boys, if with what I've gone through, I'm going to start my training. If I don't feel like I'm going to be able to achieve the times that I want to run this year at Edinburgh, and the reason we're doing Edinburgh, one of them, was because I want to run a time there. If I don't feel that I'm in the shape to run that, I'm going to step back. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to annoy Toby for as long as I can. And then I'm going to then target a race at the end of the year to go for it. Because I'm not worried about chasing times, if I'm not right. And I would say the same to you. If you're not 100% committed to it, then just look after yourself. There's plenty of other things to do. Come and do something else. Come to Amsterdam with Al at the end of the year. So there you go. Right, next question.
One of our Facebook users, I don't know if they forgot to check their emails or how it's managed to slip their mind, but they have a marathon in 6 weeks' time.
Oops.
So what advice can we give them to even get them to the start line, let alone get them to the end?
I think it depends where you are in your journey. I think some people maintain a consistent, I think, for example, Toby, despite him eating most of France last week, if we sent Toby out to run a marathon, he could do it with no time obligation. He could complete that. Like as what I just said, Toby and I ran before my surgery. We ran for 4 hours, which is, what we, look to run a marathon at a certain pace. So if you're in that position where you're able to do, you're doing 16, 18, 20 miles and it's not really putting much stress through you, then maybe, do it. I would personally take any time aspirations, throw them out the window. And I would think about, right, like the video's coming out. We did that whole run, zone 2. Toby nailed it, did the whole thing in zone 2, heart rate. He had a chest monitor, so don't try and do it on your watch because it's just a waste of time. But try and run the whole thing in zone 2. Yeah. So your effort level is right down here, but you're able to complete the distance because you're just ticking over and you're not going and exerting yourself and all that sort of stuff. So maybe that's the sort of thing, or go to a run walk strategy, to complete it. If your heart set on doing it, you could. It absolutely drives me nuts when you know me, I get angry about certain things. Not anymore because I'm a changed person. But, when people say, oh, you can't walk a marathon and all this because there's some like elite who can run like 2 hours, 35 minutes and tell everyone about it. But just walk it. What are they going to do about it? Or walk half of it. What are they going to do about it? Who cares? Take 8 hours. So what? It don't matter, does it? What's the difference between your medal and the person who ran it in 2:35 and told everybody on YouTube? Who cares? So do whatever you want to do. Just make sure mentally, physically, you're able to do it and you don't get yourself into trouble. That's my 10 pence worth, as always. Oh, by the way, big shout out JBS Super Chat. Love you.
And then in terms of perhaps someone that hasn't run a marathon before and is waiting anxiously, we mentioned gait analysis, one of the things to do. So where's the best place to get that seen?
I mean, southeast centric. If you're down here, go and do what I did. Well, I was lucky enough I got invited, but go up to A6. It's free. I did a video on it. Check it out. The woman in there was like, she's just like Mrs. Knowledgeable when it came to gait analysis. There's so much information on that video. You watch it, and I start losing the camera halfway through because I'm just sitting there like transfixing all the information coming in.
Now, this is about this. I hope this doesn't come across as a stupid question. Do you only get A6 trainers in?
No, so that's my point, right? You go in there, they give you all the information, they stick you on a machine. You are under no, because you're under no obligation to buy anything. You can walk out of there, and that's the thing. You're always better, right? I'll never forget when I did my first one. I was really lucky. I was working in the city. and I had that private medical care, you know, like they give you when you know, in certain places, and you can go along. And I had this geezer. I went up to Harley Street, and I had to run about on wooden floor, and he was crawling on the floor, like trying to look all professional and stuff like that. And he said to me, "Yeah, you need neutral shoes." I went, "Well, thanks for that." And I walked out, right? But you can go that extreme, but if you go to a proper running shop, not one that's got some 16-year-old who's got to sell, you know, Brooks, because Wilco, you know it's coming. Everybody goes to
1 hour 5 minutes. Yeah,
their local running store, and they get given Brooks because that's basically what they stock, because they're cheap to buy in and cheap to sell out. So they have loads of Brooks because they know they can put people in them. And it's not having a go at Brooks, because I do like Brooks. Just make that absolutely clear. I want them to up their game. And you get putting in a pair of Brooks or Asics like I did, right? So again, I got put in a pair of gel Nimbus something or other. But go to somewhere where they're not trying to sell you shoes. Yeah, go to somewhere where you're under no obligation, and they're not just literally sticking you on a treadmill and going, "Oh yeah, I think you look a bit, yeah." Because I can do that here. I've got stuff. Me and Al can do a gait analysis. I've got technology that I've been sent that I can get on my app that can tell you if you're overpronating or underpronating. But what the hell do I know about it? Nothing. And what training have I done in it? Zero.
All I'd say about the independents, and I guess they'll all be different because they are independent. That's the whole point. Some will offer a free gait analysis if you buy a pair of shoes from them. Yeah. So, you know, they'll say, if you walk out the store without buying a shoe, that's 20 quid for the gait analysis. So just check the T's and C's before you commit.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just make sure that you do check. Like I say, Asics, unless they've changed it again, check before you go. In London, I know it's Southeast based and it's UK, whatever, but they're free, no obligation, and you know you can do whatever you want. So I would recommend it. Is that all the questions, boys?
No, we've got some more coming in. We just had one land. Favorite 5K shoe for each of you?
Okay, right. Well, Tobe is currently in the Nike Streak Fly. Right, Zoom, the hottest shoe out there in the world. If you've not seen the video, basically we concluded at the end of it, so just to save you the 21 minutes, that really you could just go and buy a Saucony Endorphin Speed 2 and it'll do everything. But Tobe, in terms of 5K, you know, just purely 5K. I know when you ran your 5K, you had done an extra lap and your time was wrong in the video today, and you was in the Alpha Fly, which is not a 5K shoe. In terms of 5K, what are they like over a 5? Do you think you could run a proper sub 20, not doing extra laps in them?
In the Alpha Fly, the Street?
No, in the Street Fly.
So this, I haven't actually told you this yet, but I'm not a fan of them.
Oh, controversial.
I've worn them more this week, but I think I'll either go back to the Alpha or even 5K bit of speed.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not. No, they're not sold on me.
Okay, I've not running mine yet because obviously I've not been running. They're sitting down there. They're there and they're coming out tomorrow. Yeah, they're there. Toby, you're out of focus like my finger, I think. They're coming out tomorrow at Chelmsford, although they're not running a fast time because just in case the surgeon's there. But they're coming out tomorrow. I'm going to get them muddy. Al, you're going to be distraught because they're white. But I'm going to try them. But I'm a big fan of the Takumi Sen 8. I really like them. I hate Adidas shoes, or Adidas for our US fans. I hate Adidas shoes. They just don't work for me. But I'm a big fan of that Takumi Sen. It's just a great fun shoe. I ran it when I was dressed as Santa. But I also wore them when we did some of the track stuff. I wore them as well, and it's a great shoe. Really, really nice and stable and stuff like that. Al, what about you?
Well, the obvious answer is white ones. But on a serious note, and this is an old version because I know they messed the shoe up when they came out with the latest. But I quite enjoyed the New Balance Fuel Cell Prism. I managed to find some quite good times running in that shoe. And then they revamped it, and I never went back to it. So I haven't really found anything since. So I'm listening intently because
I reckon, Al, in all seriousness, with your pronation, you might get away. I know you've transitioned a little bit out of it, but you know if you are looking for something because of the Takumi Sen's lower stack, it might be worth with the light striking it might be worth having a look at
well,
that.
I'm still holding out for those Skechers, so fingers crossed.
Well, the new version is going to come, but it's not going to come until the middle. We've gone way over time here, but all the new shoes are massively delayed this year. I think the one you need to get actually, Al, the one for you, because you're a big New Balance fanboy, is the New Balance SC. It's either Pacer or Racer that's coming out. 5K shoe.
Yeah, they do look good.
That has got your name written all over it. The only thing is, I think it's going to be green, so you won't be able to buy it. Wilco's going to tell us it's going to be Brooks. Go on, Wilco.
Well, no, my answer to this was preempted by a question that was asked by Brindley Little on the Facebook group this week. They said, looking for recommendations for a new running shoe, currently running in Brooks Adrenaline GTS 21s. I need mild support, but I'm looking for something faster to use for speed work and 5 to 10K races.
Well, I'm a big fan. It's a bit random because it's actually meant to be more of a marathon shoe. But Tobe and I were spending a lot of time in our Endorphin Pros. But the first model, one, because you can get them cheap, but they just seem a much more stable version of the Speed. So you still get the Speed roll technology. It's got a carbon plate in it, so it's rigid, which I think helps versus the TPU plate in the Speed. And it's just in it, Toby. It's just that little bit more stable underfoot, especially when you get tired at the end of a run, like because we've been using them on long runs. Actually, been using them on a lot of stuff, but I think that could be a nice balance if you are a stability shoe wearer. And again, please make sure you are wearing the right shoes, injury and all that. Right, I don't want to get shot for that, but it may be worth if you pick up a pair because you can get them cheap. I was talking to Sai earlier. Because they were 140 quid. I appreciate that's not cheap, all right? But I think they were about 140 quid, weren't they, Toe?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, so I
think the first one.
They're still expensive. I appreciate that, but they're not unstable. I think is the best way to describe it. And they've got a great upper, lightweight, carbon plate, decent speed roll tech. The outsole, I mean, my version 1 is still going strong. And I think. I ran my half PB in them, didn't I? That was when we went down out on the track and we ran about 3,000 laps. And we counted the laps that time, Tobe.
Well, we had the chairman counting laps, didn't we?
Yeah, we actually had the chairman up on, the starters thing. He was up there counting the laps for us to make sure that we did it properly, unlike Tobe when he mucks it up with his 5K. Anyway. That's got to be the longest episode ever.
Yeah, JBS has said, sorry, lads, got to go. Yeah.
Me too. I've got to drive to London, so I've got to go in a minute.
So thanks ever so much for joining us. It's a big weekend. It is the winter run. We didn't even touch upon that. So we'll have a look at that when we come back next week. We'll look forward to that. The first big race in London for the year. Lots of us going. Details of a meet up afterwards they're all on the Facebook community. I'll see you there. I hope you enjoy it. And thanks ever so much. Good to see you back, mate. Well done, Chris. Thanks very much.
Thanks, boys.
We'd love to see you, mate. And we'll be seeing you again next week. Cheers, Toe. Thanks, Al. So if you haven't managed to catch us live on YouTube or Facebook, then remember you can download us as a podcast on all your usual services, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all those sort of people. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Don't forget the Manscaped promo. Chris is pointing towards his t-shirt, 20% off plus free shipping using the promo code FORDY. Email us during the week at longrunshow@gmail.com. If you've got any questions, if you've added it as a podcast, then you can't you can't ask a question at the time. But if something pops up and you want it, ask the lads, anything running related, then we'll touch upon it. So bung it through to us during the week.
And I've got one thing to say. Anybody coming to Chelmsford tomorrow? I'm at Chelmsford Park Run with Toby tomorrow. So if you're there, say hello. Sorry.
If anyone wants to run with him, he'd chat your ear off.
Yeah, if anyone wants to run me, Toby won't because I'm going to annoy him. But anyway, sorry, we've got to go. It's like well late.
Yeah, we've got to go now. It's time for bed. So thanks ever so much. Hope to see loads of you in London on Sunday. If not, we'll see you here next week. Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Roll the title.